How are things?
Things are good.
Congratulations on this new album, by the way.
Thank you.
It is an absolutely incredible album.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I just wanted to know how it started. I mean, I'm guessing you're getting around with Derek Sherinian and you say, hey, let's start a band?
Yeah, not exactly. Basically, Derek and myself, along with Billy Sheehan and Tony McAlpine, we did a tour back in 2012. It was all instrumental, and it was just playing music from all of our past. And every night that we played, it just felt like such an awesome band, and such a great chemistry of players that Derek kept saying it would be great to let's expand this into a real band and do some original material and go write an album. And at that time, back in 2012, it was just not good timing for me. I was about to launch the Winery Dogs, and I already had Adrenaline Mob and Flying Colors and all these other things. So I didn't have time at that point. But through the years, Derek kept checking in, periodically to see if I was ready. And sometime late last year, Winery Dogs were winding down and about to take a little time off, and Twisted Sister was finishing their run with me on drums. So it seemed like I might have some time available, and we decided at that point, let's do this. And at that point, we brought in Bumblefoot and Jeff Scott Soto, and here we are.
That's awesome. Why did you decide on Jeff Scott Soto and Ron Thal? What did you know about them before?
Well, this was the dream lineup I had in my head, knowing that if Derek and I were going to do something, I knew this was the powerhouse lineup. I had worked with Bumblefoot several times through the years, different things. Most notably, he was part of Metal Allegiance for an East Coast tour we did. So I knew how amazing he was, and that he could play anything, and that he's just a really easygoing guy. So I knew he was the man on guitar, and that Jeff, I've known about Jeff since the early Ingrid Malmsteen albums back in the mid-'80s. But he and I got to really know each other the last couple of years when his solo band was opening for the Winery Dogs. And I watched him every night and just knew that he was just such a great front man and such a melodic voice. I knew he'd be perfect for this. So it was my dream lineup, and I sent out the emails, and everybody was on board.
How do you guys find time for all this? I just saw Billy Sheehan about 3 weeks ago. Then he was off to Asia, and Derek Sherinian has a new album with Black Country Communion, and Bumblefoot's got Art of Anarchy. And how do you guys find the time to put this all together?
Well, here you have 5 guys in this band that are all hard workers. We all have other things going in our lives and our careers, and each one of us are the sort of musicians that love to work and love to play. So that was part of another factor in my picking this lineup. I knew that these were all guys that were committed to whatever they do, and will work their asses off to make it work. It's just the type of personalities all 5 of us are.
Did anything surprise you when you got together and actually started writing together?
Well, I'd like to say that I was surprised by how easy it came together, but to be honest, I kind of expected that. That wasn't really a surprise. I knew it would work. I knew it would be easy once we started playing, just because I know the guys involved. So I can't really say there were many surprises. Everything kind of went according to plan.
Cool. That's good, because in most supergroups you hear about all these ego clashes and big problems with...
No, everybody was kind of chosen for the band because I knew their personalities. And Jeff and Bumblefoot in particular are the 2 most easygoing guys. And that's very rare for a guitar player and a singer. Those are usually the 2 most difficult positions. But in this case, you couldn't ask for 2 sweeter guys. So I knew that, that's a huge part of, importance in picking band chemistry. It's a lot of times well beyond the music. It's more about the personalities. And in this case, it's a great group of guys.
How did the songs come together? Did you have ideas in your head of what kind of sound you wanted to get and pass it along, or did you just kind of get into a room and start jamming?
It started with me, Derek, and Bumblefoot, just the three of us, just to get the ball rolling. And Bumblefoot had a shitload of riffs and ideas, and Derek had a shitload of riffs and ideas, and basically we got together and just started, mapping them out together and piecing them together and jamming on them and expanding on them. And then after a little while, Billy joined up with us as well. So that's how the music was written. And then once all the music was done, then we sent it off to Jeff, and Jeff would write lyrics. And, then he would get together with me and Derek, and the three of us collaborated on melodies and changing some of the lyrics here and there. So it's pretty much two separate processes between the music and the vocals. Nice.
And what happens now that it's out, or it will be out soon?
Yeah, next week. Yeah, this is a real band. This isn't just a one-off make a record project. This is going to be a band that is going to be on the road all of 2018 and going all around the world. And the tour will begin in February. We're going to be debuting on Yes's Cruise to the Edge, and then from there we'll just travel all around the world and hit as many places as we can.
So it isn't a one-off deal. This is it's going to keep going for a while.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, that's whenever you form a band, you want to go as far as you can with it. And this is a band. This isn't just some sort of recording project. This is a real band. We just happen to be 30 years into our career, but it's no different than forming your first band. You want to go for it and go as far as you can.
So what does this mean for everybody else's bands? You just kind of find time for everything?
Well, we're all prioritizing this. I mean, personally, I've been juggling 3 to 4 bands a year for the last 7 years since I left Dream Theater. And actually, even when I was in Dream Theater, I still juggled a million things while still having a main home. So that's the thing. This will be our main home, and everybody's free to do other things, and we'll do other things. Jeff has Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I still have Neil Morse Band and Flying Colors and Metal Allegiance. And all those things will still happen, but they'll happen around Sons of Apollo's schedule.
Oh, that's awesome. Sorry, getting off the Sons of Apollo, will there be more Winery Dog?
I hope so. We're just kind of on break at the moment, so yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I was just blown away by the sound on this album. It's almost like you have perfect chemistry right off the bat, which is something that I've heard is really hard to come by. And I know you've worked with Billy Sheehan a lot before, so you've developed that chemistry, but everybody seems to just be right on click, and the sound is huge. Now, you produced this with Derek Sherinian.
Well, I give the credit to the sonic aspects to the engineers and the mixers we work with, and they were both hand chosen, as they're both guys that I've worked with extensively. The engineer, Jerry Guidros, has done my last 20 albums, literally. And I love working with him, and I have a great chemistry with him in the studio, and I know he would bring his abilities and talents to the album. And then the mixer was Jay Rustin, who's mixed at least 5 other albums for me through the last few years. And to me, he's my go-to guy in terms of just having great, huge-sounding mixes. He mixed all the Winery Dog stuff, and he mixed the first Adrenaline Mob album that I did. So, I give the credit to those guys. I mean, Derek and I, as the producers, kind of oversee all of the details that go into the recording, but it's up to those guys to get it on tape and then to, make it come alive.
Okay, I want to get into some older stuff. Just kind of when you first started, some quick questions for you. Who was your first drummer that ever made you say, holy crap, I want to do this for a living?
It was Keith Moon, and it was more, for the visual side. I had been listening to The Who as well as the Beatles and the Stones and all that stuff, from when I was born in 67 all through the early 70s, but we didn't have any visual means back then, not many, unless the band made a movie or, you went and saw them in concert. And then when The Who put out their movie, The Kids Are All Right, in 1979, that was my first time seeing Keith play and seeing a drummer that played the drums like a lead instrument and that played, like like a front man. You know, you couldn't take your eye off him. And pretty much when I saw Keith playing was when I knew exactly what I wanted to do and the type of drummer I wanted to be.
Okay, what was the first concert you ever saw?
I saw George Harrison in '74. I saw Paul McCartney in Wings in '76. And I saw Kiss in '77. So those are the first three that I saw, and all three of them had a huge impact on me.
That's a pretty good starting three. Do you remember the first show you ever played?
Sure. I have a great memory for everything I've ever done. So yeah, I remember it was with my band Intruder, and we played at a local church. We played like a free concert. And we, at that time it was around 1982, and we were doing all covers of stuff that was popular around '82. A lot of Van Halen and Ozzy and Sabbath and early Motley Crue and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be the first one.
What country have you never played in that you really want to visit?
The moon. That's pretty much all that's left for me. I've been everywhere else.
Is there a favorite area?
Home. There's no place like home, as Dorothy once said.
Now, for some of the people who may not know, you're pretty well known for playing in prog bands. Can you define prog?
Well, the definition has definitely changed through the years. When the genre came out in the early '70s, the word kind of applied to bands like Yes, Genesis, King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, bands that were coming out and kind of combining jazz and classical and rock into one giant melting pot. And usually those bands had very long songs, very intricate parts. So that's what it used to mean, but now in 2017, it's a very broad term because it could range from anything from Opeth and Meshuggah all the way to Porcupine Tree and Spots Beard. There's so many different kinds of prog or progressive music these days that the genre has blown wide open into so many subcategories, which I think is a great thing.
You've played with some of the best guitar players going ever since you started. Who have you not played with that you would like to jam with?
Well, I will say I'll expand on the question with a statement, and I agree with you. I've been truly blessed to have played with a who's who of guitar players. Everybody from Paul Gilbert to Richie Kotzen to Steve Morse to Zakk Wylde to Tony McAlpine to Alex Skolnick to John Petrucci. I mean, the list is really incredible, and I've been blessed. Who haven't I played with that I still would like to? Probably the answer I always give is it's the same. It's Michael Achterfeld from Opeth. He's somebody I really admire, more as a songwriter than a guitar player, specifically. But he's somebody who I really admire musically and also get along really well with personally. And would love to do something together at some point. So
you know him, but you've never jammed?
Yeah, we've jammed. We've been friends for 15 years at this point. But I mean, make some music together. And if you're talking about just jamming, God, I mean, I've even jammed with everybody from Dweezil to Steve Vai to Joe Satriani and Ace Frehley. So yeah, I mean, if you're just talking about jamming. Haven't I jammed with that I'd like to? Maybe Jimmy Page or Brian May.
It's interesting that you just mentioned that. How tight is the rock scene? Because I always see these things, posts on Facebook and Twitter of guys just getting together and jamming. I think there's an open jam night in LA somewhere where Nuno and all the guys get together and just jam. How tight is the community?
Well, it depends on your personality. I love jamming. I love going out and playing with other people and hanging socially. Not everybody's like that. When I was with Dream Theater, those guys kind of really kept to themselves and never went out and never really socialized much. John did the G3 tour. So that was kind of one time where, they stepped out the, you know, the kind of world and jams. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. That's not the point. The point is, it's all about your personality. So yeah, I mean, there's a world out there where people love to jam and get together and get out of their comfort zones and get out of their normal bands. And you know, if you're the type of personality that enjoys that and likes to do that, you know, there's, you know, it's an awesome thing to do. To me, it's what has made me who I am, and the fact that I've played in like 20-something bands at this point, and, you know, I've jammed with, you know, probably hundreds of musicians at this point, and it makes me who I am. That's not only my musical identity, but it's my personality as well.
Have you ever been intimidated when you got on stage with somebody because you were?
Oh fuck yeah, every time. Yeah, you know, there's been so many guys that I've played with that was, you know, it was pretty incredible and pretty intimidating to be up there with. I mean, I did myself and Derek Sherinian put together a benefit concert for Tony McAlpine when he was sick, and the end jam, the guys that were up on stage with me and Derek and Billy Sheehan, it was incredible. It was me, Derek, and Billy with a rhythm section, and then up there we had Steve Vai, Paul Gilbert, Tom Morello, John Five, Nuno Betancourt, Richie Kotzen, Zach Wild was there that night. I mean, it was, you know, it was awesome.
You just named the starting five for the Hall of Fame, the Guitar Hall of Fame. That's amazing.
Well, I played with them all.
That's incredible. One last question before I go. It's kind of a serious question, and I hate bringing it up, but with all the stuff that's happened, you know, like Vegas and the Ariana Grande concert in England, do you worry or are you nervous about going out on the road?
Well, yeah. I mean, you could date it back to 2004 when Dimebag was killed. You know, that was a wake-up call. That was a wake-up call that these things can happen. And the scary thing is you can't prevent it. You know, like, you know, you could get security at a club or have, you know, all the policemen in the world at a gig or metal detectors upon entering. But it's not going to matter. I mean, look what happened in Las Vegas. You know, the guy wasn't even in the venue, and, you know, we're shooting into it from an outside source. So really, you know, there's only so much you can do to protect yourself. It's really more a gun control issue more than anything else, more than a security issue. You know, I think security is, you know, ever since 9/11 has gotten more and more tight no matter where you go. And it's, you know, it's sometimes scary when you travel as much as I do and a lot of other musicians do. And you're always on the road and always on airplanes and always on stage and in public places. But, you know, we can't let them win. You know, this is what we do. And, you know, you could say the same thing about walking across the street. Look at all the people that were killed when, you know, the crazy driver drove through the you know, in Charlottesville or whatever. You know, so what are you going to do? Not ever get in a car and not walk across the street? I mean, you know, you just have to be as careful as you can, and it's just crazy times we're living in. You know, it's scary and it's sad, but it's reality, and we have to kind of deal with it on its own terms.
Well said. Well said. Well, listen, I want to thank you for this. This has been great, and I wish you all the success in the world with this new album, Psychotic Symphony.
Thank you.
It is fantastic, and good luck with the tour, and hopefully you'll come up to Canada at some point.
I hope so. I look forward to it, man.